What's up, guys, and welcome to the channel. My name is Adrian with AC Designs, and today we're down here at my C10 boneyard, and I'm going to show you how to polish up a faded out bed that we bought out of a junkyard. Coming up. Alright guys, here's the bed we're going to be working on. It's off a 71 C10. You can see how chalky it is. It has hardly no reflection. Hopefully when we get it polished up you'll be able to see me in it, but right now this paint's pretty dead. Like I said, it's sat in a junkyard for years. It's sat around here for a year or so. This is a bed that we bought the short, this sitting on my shortened chassis. That's why the wheels don't line up. We just got it sitting on there for like a rack. But here's our candidate. We're gonna try to buff it off the bat first with just compounds and stuff and see if it'll bring it out. If not, I'm gonna get the DA out with some 3000 Trizac and DA it all down, and then we'll buff it up, see what it looks like. All right guys, here's some of the products I'm gonna use to buff this bed out with. This is a Roops. I'll give you it's a DA buffer. There's a part number. If you guys are interested, I'll link all this stuff in the description below on my Amazon affiliate account. I get a little percentage of money if you guys check this stuff out, and it helps you find this stuff all in one place. So I'll link everything in the description below. And here's my compounds I'm using. This is the Meguiar's M105 is what I cut with. M205, that's the polish. And also I have the Meguiar's microfiber cutting pads that I use. The way I use these, they got, for my cutting, they got a thinner layer of foam here. And then for the polish, it's a little bit thicker, so it's a little more forgiving. Also, you always need microfiber rags and a spray bottle with just clean water and stuff in it. This thing here is the trick. I'll give you an overview of it. I've used rotary machines for a long time and stuff, but man, these are nice. If you're gonna buff more than one car, spend extra money to get one of these. It brings the polish up quick, and you ain't gotta worry about cutting through the edges and stuff like that. Especially if you're a new time buffer, that's the way to go. I'll show you the box here. I've probably buffed 10 cars with this thing. I can buff a car in about half the time with this thing. All right guys, I got my buffing pad put on, and I got my M105, and I'm gonna show you how to load the pad. This right here is the trick to doing it. Shake it up real well, and then you put it on here and just kind of rub it into the pad. You don't want a ton of it. I like to put about 5 or 6 drops. And I'll show you what the way we do it. You just want to kind of rub this stuff in. You want every one of these little microfiber pieces sticking up to have compound on it for it to get the trick done really well. I like to take my fingernails and just work it into the pad really good. And one thing I like about these things, they don't sling compound everywhere like a rotary machine does. All right, we got this loaded. I'll probably put maybe 1 or 2 more drops on it right before we get ready to buff. All right guys, put a couple more little drops on here of the 105. Just rub it around on here. I got mine set at about 4, which is about 3,400 RPM or so. And we, let's see if you can see it, put these marks on here because you want this thing rotating the whole time that it's orbiting this way. You want it to rotate also, so you put these marks on here so you can tell if the pad's rotating or not. All right guys, here we go. See if we can make this thing shine. Yeah, I think that picked up a shine pretty good. Look at that reflection already. You go down here where I hadn't buffed, it just disappears. I don't think we're gonna have to DA this. It looks pretty good. It has some bubbling underneath, which I know there's rust under here. So if we DA it, it's gonna pull them heads up. So if you don't want to cut through to that stuff, or if you want to add a little more extra patina, if you'll DA this off in 3000, it'll show up little spots and stuff. And I think we're just gonna buff this whole bedside and check it out. But man, that thing looks good. All right, guys, one way to tell that this is a single stage is when you buff it, your pad will turn the color of the vehicle is. If you do this on a clear coat, you're in trouble. You already cut through the clear, but yeah, it's a single stage, probably some kind of acrylic enamel or something that's on it. But I'm gonna scratch this up a little bit more, and my fingernails just rough it up, because after a while the compound gets baked on it and stuff. And I'll put a few more drops and we'll get to buffing again. Just make sure you rub it all in real good. Get it all down in the pores and stuff. You can see I spent on that little spot. I like to do like a 2-foot square spot. I spent probably 3 minutes on it. And we'll have this thing looking like a pretty decent paint job here for long. All right, guys, I want you to check out this difference. Look at the reflection in this junk paint. I've done it about halfway up to the middle of the wheel well there. And that's what happens. I'm thinking about DAing the front half in 3000 and buffing it just to show you the difference it would make. It may not make that much difference, but I just kind of wanted to see it. But I mean, check out the reflection in that stuff. And literally, I just buffed for about 5 minutes with this thing. A lot of people say, oh, they don't work good as the rotaries. I guess it's preference. But ever since I've had one of these, my rotary's covered in dust. All right, let's get the DA out, and we'll just wet sand this with 3000 from the middle of the wheel well right in here forward. And I'll buff it, then polish the whole thing, and then we'll see how it turns out. I think it's turning out pretty good though. It's amazing how this old chalked up paint is coming to life. And I like doing this better than, I guess you could use the linseed trick, but I guess maybe it would work better on more rusty stuff. But if you've got a little bit of paint on it, it's just hazed out and a few rust in places, I think I'd give her a buff first. Now this is the hood for my 72. Now it's got a lot of patina to it. And I may do the linseed oil trick into a video on it maybe and see how we can bring this out. But we may polish the areas where the paint's at. Alright guys, another little trick when it starts getting clogged up like this, there's 2 ways you can do it. If it's not real bad, I'll take an air hose and do this and just blow it off, because it kind of gets matted up, and if it don't have these little bristles to it, it just don't cut as good. So take your air hose and just blow it off like that and get it fluffed back up. If it gets really bad, you just take this off and put it down in a bucket of water and wring it out really good and clean it. Then you can just put it back on the buffer and turn it up and hold it away from it, because it slings water for a long ways, but it'll dry it out like within a minute and you can go right back to using it. Just a little trick if you're using one of these things. Now, since we've blowed this out, we're gonna have to go back and what they call re-sauce it up. Basically, you just wanna do like we did before, put 10 or so drops on here and just rub it in real good, then put you a couple drops on there and start right back over. But we're gonna go ahead and buff this with the 3000 grit Trizac on the DA and a little bit of water, and I'll show you what what that Trizact pad looks like. All right, guys, this is the Trizact pad. See if I can get it just right. The sun's messing with me. It's a 3M. It's like a foam back. It's 3,000 grit. This one's wore out pretty good on this old junk paint. I'm not going to use a new one because these are a little pricey. But we're going to use this old junk one, and I got my Matco DA sander. It's got a, I think it's a 3/4 inch interface pad. It's squishy. You want one of these. You just don't want to use it on that hard backer because you lean into an edge, it's easy to dig in. So I always keep one of these on, these little interface Velcro backer pads. This is Velcro, it just sticks, so you can dunk it in water and stuff. So like I said, I'm gonna link all this stuff, the Trizact, the DAs and stuff. If y'all have any questions, just hit them up in the comments, but we'll put all this in the description below. All right, guys, what you want to do is just take your clean water. You don't have to soak it down, but just come in here and just put a little, use the water for a little lubrication, and just do like the same you would buff, do the little 2x2 area or so. That's what I do. And what I'm doing, I'm not holding it flat. Like if you use DA and bodywork, you want to keep it flat. But when I'm doing this, I'll rock it up on the edge a little bit, especially here in this crack. You want to try to keep it there. But now down here on the flats, we'll keep it good and flat and roll it. But up here, you got to come up on the edge just a little bit. Just be careful with that because you can cut through on a nice paint job. You can see all that dead paint coming off. You can use this to rinse some of it off. All right, now what we're going to do is just spray it down a little bit with a little bit of water and wipe it off, and let's see how it looks. You don't want to go too much on this stuff because it'll cut through if you're watching, but this paint job here, it really don't matter. All right, now we're going to rinse it off. We're going to have to talk over the crazy birds we have out here. It's one of the things about living in the country. You got animals everywhere making crazy noise. All right, I'm gonna take the air hose right now and just dry it. As you can see now, the 3000 actually starts putting it up to a little shine. It's actually starting to polish, so when you go to hit it with the buffer, it'll come right up to shine in no time with this 3000. They make a 5000, I think they make up to a 8000 maybe. Haven't tried it yet, but the finer you can get your wet sanding before you buff, the less work you got to do buffing. But now we'll go ahead and DA the rest of the bed, and I'll show me doing that, and then we'll start buffing on it. All right, guys, here's another tip, like on your everyday driving car that has good paint on it. If you get like one of these black rubs on it, like something mars up against it, it don't cut in through the clear or anything, you can take this 3000, I'll show you real quick, and it'll DA it right off. And that there is how you get the smudges off your good painted vehicles. If you have any, like somebody bumping into it at the grocery store or something, put like a smudge, or they call them paint transfers, like if a white car was to hit you and it puts a white smear on it, you can take that 3000 and hit it real good right there and get it off without cutting into your clear, and then you can buff it right up. Alright, well, I'm gonna get ready to wash all this down, and then we're gonna start buffing this thing and see. That's the kind of sludge you get before you wipe it down. It's just dead paint. But it's pretty clear to be what we started with, a big blue chalk paint looking. So let's see the difference in the 3000 makes. Alright, guys, you can see a little bit of shine come out in this. I just cleaned it off, and that's just a 3000. But it's starting to get a little reflective quality to it. Not a whole lot, but that's where a 3000 will get you. It just basically flattens everything out, which in this you can see there's a lot of mud and stuff in this. We're going to strip his bedside when we shorten it and stuff, but I just wanted to show you before I started buffing on it. That was like 2 seconds of buffing, and it's already pulled up to a shine. Notice this thing does not sling in, it's compact. That's one thing I like about it. Also, if you're going down the side of a truck, long side of a truck, it'll wear you out. So what I do is I brace my elbow on my knee and use that as like a lever action to push against this instead of trying to hold this, because it will wear you out on long bed truck, trust me. Alright guys, I'm going to try to hold the buffer and the camera at the same time so you get a better perspective, so we'll see how this goes. I'm pretty impressed. Now this is with the cutting compound, the M105. I want you to check out the clarity in this whole garbage paint. I'll get you out of the sun. This problem I've had today with filming here, the sun shines right over this area. But check out that clarity in that paint. I mean, this is not a show car, but that is crazy. I mean, this would look good at any show. If you had an old chalked up, faded out truck, I'm telling you, just buff it. A couple hours worth of work. Now I can say, I don't know if the camera will pick it up or not, but I can see the difference when it goes, well, sunshine's gonna mess with us. It's a little more peely and cloudy here, and then when it goes from right here in the middle is where I 3000'd it. But check that out. Although it does highlight the Bondo cracking and stuff in it, but now I'm going to do the 205 polish, and it should just bring it up to a little higher luster. Alright, here's just another angle. I can tell a little difference. I'm not sure if you guys can or not, but from the center of that wheel well back, it still has a little modeling and a hazy look, and a lot more peel that I didn't get out by not wet sanding it. And I think maybe if I would have took it to 2000 hand and 2500, then brought it up to 3000, this thing would look really good. But I just wanted to show you a quick way that you can polish up your old faded out pickup truck and make it look pretty daggone good for a little bit amount of money. Alright, now it's time to polish. We got our M205. Make sure you shake this stuff up really good. And we'll sauce up our pad just like we did the other one. And I'm using the thicker foam on my polishing so it's not as aggressive. Alright, now time for the polishing. It don't take near as much compound to do the polishing. It just seems to go for it. I can probably do half this bed with one saucing up, and then when I go do the other half, I'll just put another little bit of the polish on it, and that should be good. So here we go. I'm going to polish it on a little lower speed. I don't need it as aggressive, and a lot of times it'll burn these are not as bad as the rotaries for doing it, but they will burn the compound and stuff onto the paint. So we're going to cut this one down to about I think about a 3.5, which would be about 2,000, 2,500 RPM. Yeah, here she is after the 205 polish. I went over it like 2 or 3 times, but man, it looks good. See if you can tell the difference where I stopped polish. See, it kind of hazes over in here where it hasn't been polished yet, and then you get right in here to where it's polished. I never thought, I knew it'd shine, but I never thought it'd come up that good. I mean, look at that. All right, let's go do the rest of it. We're gonna get this backside back here where it hasn't been 3000, and we'll see if it improves it in it. I mean, it looks pretty good, but it don't seem to be as flat and as clear. All right, guys, that about wraps this video up. I'm amazed with what come out in this video. I mean, it's pretty daggone slick for an old faded out acrylic junkyard bed. Now this thing is sitting in junkyard, oxidized, and after polishing and stuff, man, that thing's slick. Now it don't help none of the body work in it, but I mean, you can see the clarity in the. Now we get back here, it starts getting a little hazier. Remember, from the middle back is what we just buffed and polished. We never did the 3000 on the DA. But I think this would pass as the everyday driver without having to spend a bunch of money on a paint job. Yeah, you can look at the back of the tailgate and tell what it used to look like in the top. Man, that stuff polished up nice. Basically from this haze here to that. Alright guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a little something on the buffing and polishing and sanding technique and stuff. And it goes to show that you can take an old junk bed like this and make it look pretty daggone good. So please like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned next week. I got a hood up here off my 72 that I think I'm going to try to polish the rust instead of using like linseed oil. Let's see if we can wax and buff it, use stuff like that instead of using that old nasty oil, because if you ever get ready to go paint your vehicle later on, that oil, it can be taken off, but it may cause some problems with fish eyes if you ever do go paint your vehicle. So hope you enjoyed. Go build your hot rod. God bless.